How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Harry and I'm an incoming graduate medical student here in Ireland. Today we're going to talk about both how to apply to graduate medicine and what schools are available to you if you apply in Ireland. Before we begin, I just want to say a really quick thank you to everyone that has supported the channel so far. If you haven't subscribed already and you're enjoying the videos, please take the time to subscribe. So in Ireland there are three routes to apply to study medicine. We have undergraduate medicine, mature entry medicine, and there is graduate entry medicine. Today I'm just going to be focusing on the graduate entry route. If people want to hear about the mature entry, please let me know in the comments and I can talk more about that route. So you apply to graduate medicine in the same ways you apply to other undergraduate courses here in Ireland, and that means you go through the Central Applications Office, or the CAO. So the CAO website will be available from early November and has a timetable of events on their website showing you all the important dates right from early November when applications open all the way through to late rounds of offers in September. So the CAO will process your application and you can apply to up to 4 medical schools for graduate entry. Luckily here in Ireland there are currently only 4 medical schools that offer graduate entry medicine. These 4 schools are RCSI, or the Royal College of Surgeons Ireland, UCD, University College Dublin, UCC, University College Cork, or UL, University of Limerick. One thing to note about University of Limerick is that it is solely a graduate entry program. They don't provide undergraduate or other routes to entry. So what is the criteria for these schools? Well, the first criteria is relevant for any of the 4 schools you're applying to, and that is your bachelor's degree. You need a minimum of a 2-1, a second class honours grade 1, or a first class honours, a 1-1, in your primary bachelor degree in order to apply. Now I should also point out that here in Ireland it doesn't matter what discipline that degree is in, whether it's a BA, a BSc, an LLB, all disciplines can apply. It's important to note with the bachelor degree, as far as the criteria is concerned, that once you meet the minimum requirement, it is no longer used to differentiate students. So for example, if one student receives a 2-1 and another receives a first, they have both met this minimum requirement, and then only the second criteria is used to further differentiate students. So this brings me on to the second criteria, which I've talked about in other videos, and that is this exam called the GAMSAT. So for each of the 4 schools, they will have a different minimum GAMSAT score that you require to get in. This score is related to the number of places that they offer, particularly the distribution between EU and non-EU students. So here's a table of the GAMSAT scores over the last number of years, and hopefully you can gauge what you would need in order to get into your particular school of interest. Now it's important to remember people's GAMSAT scores from the last 4 sittings leading up to the particular year of entry can be used for their application. The most recent GAMSAT sitting and the average scores for that aren't necessarily indicative of what you might see for minimum requirement to these schools. But regardless of all that, the most important thing once you meet your bachelor minimum requirement is going to be your GAMSAT score. Another important point about these scores, if there is a star beside a score, for example, it says 59 with a star, that means not everyone on that score got a place. And so what happens there is that they have a random selection process for anyone that scored 59. And this is what I mentioned earlier about the fact that your bachelor at this point has no weighting as far as the random selection is concerned. But one of the most important factors that affect these scores, and one of the reasons why RCSI has the highest score, is because of the number of places and the distribution of those places. So for example, RCSI offered 30 EU places for 2020 entry and 52 non-EU places, whereas UCD offered 77 EU and 23 non-EU places. University of Limerick was 95 EU and 55 non-EU, and I think UCC was 40-40 split, so 40 for each of EU and non-EU applicants. So let's say you're happy so far, you've met the requirements and you're ready to apply. Where are you going to apply? What are the considerations you should make for each medical school? So first of all, definitely take the time to look up each individual school just to see what facilities and infrastructure that is available to you when you go there. The reputation of the medical school may also be relevant to you if that's something that you consider high priority, but each of these medical schools is accredited by the GMC. You will have an internship at the end of it, so there's a lot to be said for a certain standard that will be maintained. Some small points to consider: University of Limerick, for example, uses a problem-based learning approach. I haven't myself experienced it, so I can't really comment on how different it is from a more didactic learning style, but from research online I've seen that it really suits some people. So if that's a school that you're considering, then it might be worth reaching out to them to try and get a sense of how different it might be to your experiences studying thus far. Another really important point for graduate medicine is obviously fees and funding. These schools vary in their fees a little bit, but again, there are some considerations to be made here. So I'm going to leave a graphic around here just so you can see the fees for each of EU and non-EU applicants for the 4 different schools. For an EU applicant, the average cost is about 15,800, while for non-EU, you're talking about 52,500 euro. You would definitely have to look into funding and different scholarships that might be available to you, but the only one that I've heard of before entering is the Bank of Ireland loan system that provides you with essentially 15,000 per year for 4 years, which will cover the tuition fees for an EU student. But as I said, particularly if you are a non-EU international, there might be some bursaries that are available to you from your country for studying internationally. Something I should point out in this graphic is that RCSI provides you with I believe a MacBook in your first year and your third year. So while I'm not saying that is a reason to pay higher fees, it does probably justify that slightly higher price relative to some of the other schools. Obviously these fees are quite high, but there are some important pros that you should consider if you're a non-EU applicant and you're thinking which countries I should apply to. One of the benefits is you're in an English-speaking country and you will be able to take on an internship when you finish your degree in an English-speaking hospital. I know some people in other programs in other countries in Eastern Europe plan to return to their origin, so the UK or Ireland, that is an English-speaking country, but while they are training at their respective medical schools, they will have to speak to patients either in the native language over there or have it translated through a doctor. So these fees are pretty in line with what you'd expect to find in Ireland, the UK, and also if you are an American, you would probably find the non-EU fees here roughly in line with medical school in the US. So as far as cost is concerned, it's fairly standard. One other small thing you may consider is, do I want to go to a school, for example, RCSI and UCD are in Dublin, while UCC is also in Cork, but it is a slightly smaller city, or UL, which is again smaller and maybe less expensive than your Dublin prices. You might want to factor things like that in if you're living somewhere for 4 years. That's definitely going to add up. Finally, on my journey to graduate medicine so far, I spent a long time considering and researching other schools in different countries. What are the pros, what are the cons? So my next few videos are going to be similar to this, talking about applying to the UK and other places in Europe. These are very viable options and definitely something that you research if you are determined to study medicine. There are ways you can do it and you just have to work out what is feasible. If there are any details that you feel you uncovered in more detail, particularly with applying to Ireland in this case, let me know. I have done so much research about the graduate entry application process in many countries in Europe. I would love to help in any way that I can, so please let me know. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to everyone that has been watching. I'm at a really important and exciting junction in my graduate medicine process. Tomorrow is Thursday the 5th of August, which is round 0 of the CAO, and that means that I should be finding out what medical school I'll be going to at the start of September. So exciting, looking forward to it. I will be vlogging that, so hopefully that'll come to you soon. So by the time you see this video, I will have hopefully recorded that as well. Please support the channel by subscribing if you can. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.